Hey everyone, welcome back. Got a great video for you guys today. What we're talking about is something that's a little controversial, but I think it's important that we talk about it. And what it is this, is a lot of people talk about how you have to work harder and not smarter. I'm here to tell you that that right there is absolutely wrong. I think that's the battle cry of the lazy person. And the reason I say that is because I'm not saying that the opposite is true either, right? So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying work harder, not smarter. What I'm saying is what people should be saying, right? What people should be preaching and teaching is work harder and work smarter, right? Both. I think that what happens is, and I see this quite a bit, right? I see this in my company. We hire people and they think they're real smart, right? And they want to come in and they want to work 5 hours a week, 3 hours a week, 2 hours a week. We give people a lot of freedom, right? And ideally, right, when I give people that kind of freedom, and because they got the potential to make so much money, right, 5 and 6 figures on every single deal that they do with us, right? And they can do 10 of those, 20 of those a year with us, and they can do more than that, right, if they really applied themselves. But my point is this, though: we give them tons of freedom, and they come in and they want to spend 2-3 hours a week, and they think that because they're so smart that that's going to be enough, right? That being smart is gonna is gonna be enough to compensate for not working hard, right? For just so. But anyways, my point here is it doesn't matter whether we're talking my company or any business, right? Is I think you got to get over that fallacy. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. And if you have any doubts about it, look at some of the people that we all like listening to, right? Some of these people that have been incredibly successful. In my case, we're getting there. This year will be the first year that that we come in with 7, maybe 8 figures as a business, brand new business, right? So we're excited about that. We're happy about that. We've been grinding. But my point is, you look at some of the people that we all kind of look up to, like the ones that have already made it, right? That have accumulated huge fortunes. Whether you're talking about the Ray Dalios or the Patrick Bet-Davids or the Alex Hormozy, right, Bradley, all these people, right, that have the Andrew Tates. I mean, these people that have made it big, right? They're worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and in some cases they're worth billions of dollars, right? So, and you can go on down the list, right? The Tesla, what's his name, Elon Musk. So my point is that all of these people talk about how they worked hard, but what happens is that it's almost like some people, like, they love listening to them talk about this, right? About how they worked hard to get to where they're at, and they slept in their office, and only getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep. And Elon Musk talks about how he practically, like that's all he did for a number of years, right? If his girlfriend wanted to see him at the time, his girlfriend had to sleep in the office and go see him at the office because he didn't go out anywhere, right? He sacrificed a lot. He invested in that business, every waking hour of his day. And we hear that, and it's a lot of people, it's almost like it goes right over their head. They hear just the glamorous part, right? The part where he made a ton of money, his company's worth a ton of money, he is the richest man in the world, and so on and so forth. But it's when it comes to the hard work, it's almost like you think, well, maybe that's him, but I'm smart, so I don't have to work as hard as him. Like I said, I think that's a fallacy. I think that's something that people got to just get out of their mind. You're not that smart. You think you are. Everybody thinks they're smart. And not only that, but look around you. You know what I mean? I don't know what circles you're in, but if you look around you, if you look around society, there's plenty of people that are smart that are broke. Look around you. There's tons of engineers, architects, biochemists. I mean, go on that, just down the list, right? Really, really smart people that are broke. They're living paycheck to paycheck. In today's society, right, in the world that we live in today, if you're making $100,000 a year, you're broke. I mean, if that's all you're making, you're broke. You know what I mean? You might not feel like you're broke if you're living around a bunch of people that only make $40,000 a year, or $50,000 a year. But the reality of it is, after you take out taxes, you're trying to live in a nice neighborhood, nice house, nice car, right? You like to be able to go out once in a while. You like to be able to take maybe a couple vacations a year, right? Go to a couple nice places, right? Then you know what I mean? $100,000 is not very much money. Break it all down, right? Break it all down. If you doubt me, break it all down. And then if you have a family, right? If you're trying to, if you want to have a wife and children and all that, and if you're the, and if you guys, if you're the sole, breadwinner, right? 100,000 is poverty. And if it's you and your wife combined, they're making 100,000, same thing. And if she's bringing in an additional whatever, and you guys are making about 150,000 a year, that's not poverty. I wouldn't say 150,000 a year combined is poverty, but it's definitely not. You're not living life to its fullest. You're not getting to really enjoy the best that life has to offer. So, anyways, getting back to my point, I digressed. And by the way, so I'm not, just to be clear, I'm not advocating to just work hard and not smart, because there's plenty of people, and we all know this as well. Plenty of people that are out there that work hard and they're still broke, right? People that work 50, 60, 70 hours a week and they're broke. They got nothing. They got nothing to show for it. So it's not about one or the other, it's both. Let's get into the weeds of this, right? So what am I talking about? So when you have a business and you're trying to grow a business, it's not just about being the visionary, right? It's wonderful to be the visionary. And if you got the kind of money where you can hire tons of people to do everything for you, right? Which most entrepreneurs, that's not the case, right? Most of us got to start with a shoestring budget. You got, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, whatever it is that you got to try to make this work, right? Of course, there's exceptions. Like I said, there's people either that are starting out with a lot of money, their own money, or they convince somebody to give them, a couple $1 million to start some business. Those are the exceptions. Now, you guys that are in that type of situation, wonderful for you, right? You still got to work hard. You still got to work smart, but you get to delegate, right? You get to delegate so much. But for most people, for most of us, when we start out, that's not the case. We actually have to do all of the bookkeeping, all of the accounting, follow up emails. We have to research deals, right? If we look at kind of what we do, right? The commercial real estate, you got to research the deal. And what does that mean? You got to go out there and figure out what the rents are in that market. You got to figure out what land is going for. What are the comps, right? What's currently in the market? What's under contract? What projects are in the pipeline with the city? Are there more apartment buildings being built? You have to research that opportunity. And there's a lot of work that goes into that. And then you also have systems, right? There's all these new systems that are coming out. And you either adopt these systems, you learn them, right? You got to research them, learn them, adopt them, or you're going to be left behind. And if you don't get left behind right away, it's only a matter of time, right? Because if you're, as an example, if you're in the legal industry, right? I also have a business where I provide paralegal work for attorneys, and pretty soon that'll be a law firm, and we're in the process of getting that approved. But my point is this: if you're in that industry, you're not using ChatGPT, right? So you have your paralegals and everybody that works at your office, writing up emails and documents and, legal documents and letters and different things, right? And you're having them do this without using ChatGPT. And then I'm using ChatGPT, and I'm using some of the other software that's out there, whether it's Filevine or Clio or whatever, right? And I'm using all these fancy platforms that are built on top of ChatGPT, right, to help me create contracts and write actual legal briefs and all that. Well, I can outperform you even if you have 10 staff and I only have one, easily. And I'll produce better work with less stress. So overall, just less overhead, and I can use that extra money that I'm making, right? The profits to either expand, right? Get some more people. So now if I have 2 or 3 people, I'm producing what would be the equivalent of having 30 staff, right? Having a giant law firm. Or I can use that for marketing, and all of a sudden now you're competing against somebody who's spending 2 or 3 or 4 times or 10 times as much as you on marketing, right? So that takes time. That takes energy. That's hard work, right? That takes time and energy to actually go out there and research that. You got to sit your butt down and you got to do the work. You got to do the research. And that's not just about being smart, because you're not going to be able to research systems and buy a system in 5 minutes, right? Like, if you're going to make the right decision, it's going to take a little bit of time. Now, if you already know what the right system is, then wonderful, right? But then you still got to learn it. You still got to train somebody, right, to use these systems. You got to learn how to use it. And then there's, other things like, like, for example, you got to learn the industry. It's easy to say, well, real estate is real estate, right? If we're talking about real estate, or you're just saying the legal field is the legal field, and it's all real basic, and I understand it, but it's constantly changing. There's always new things coming up, whether it's new laws, or if you're talking about real estate, there's new developments, new projects, new concepts, new architectural designs. There's all this stuff that's going on in your industry. If you're trying to be successful, right? If you're trying to be the best, that's why you get into business, right? You don't get into business to be mediocre. If that's what you get into business for, then you should probably just go get a job, right? Let the rest of us do what we're doing and just get out of the way, right? Because you're just getting in the way. And there's so many of those entrepreneurs right now that should not be entrepreneurs. And for those of you that are true entrepreneurs, you know what I'm talking about. So anyways, getting back to the point. So the idea is that, there's all this stuff happening in the industry, and you have to learn, right? And you have to stay on top of it. So all that takes time, right? So when I say hard work, it's all these things that got to get done behind the scenes. It's not just the sexy part. There's all these things that got to get done behind the scenes, right? For example, even in my real estate business, there's tons of contracts that got to be written. And these contracts are unique and they're different, right? There's contracts with people that come work for me, contracts for deals, and deals get done differently. It's not just traditional real estate purchase contract, right? Those are pretty easy. But you have all these different creative contracts that you write up to wholesale a deal or to purchase an LLC or sell an LLC. This takes time. This takes energy. And somebody's got to do it. You got to take people out to eat and get to meet them and know them and develop relationships, right? Because it's all about relationships. And that takes time. So there's all these, and then not to mention, right? And this is a whole can of worms right here. Not to mention all of the implications in connection with, taxes and business licenses and registrations and employee taxes and quarterly filings and, right? All that takes time and energy. Time and energy. And even if you hire somebody, right? I just went through that right now. I hired a bookkeeper, hired an accountant, hired somebody else to do some other component of it. And even then, I still had to spend a bunch of time and energy trying to get certain things done, right? It takes time. It takes time. So I guess we're going to wrap this up, right? We're going to talk more about this in some of future videos. But I think it was important that I made this point. I think it's important that you understand that despite the fact that you hear people talk about, working smarter, not harder, that's a fallacy. It's the battle cry of the lazy person. The battle cry of the person who who's not going to be successful. Because the people that strictly adhere to that, work smarter and not harder, and actually make it and are very successful, they're just they're the exception. They're not the rule. And I'm talking about people starting out, right? So once you are, incredibly wealthy, right? You're self-made, things change a little bit, but you're not there yet, right? I'm guessing, I'm talking to somebody who's starting out, right? You're not worth, 8 figures, right? You're not worth multiple 7 figures. And if you are, then great for you, right? Wonderful. Then you're able to delegate, right? You're able to hire real smart people to delegate to other real smart people that specialize in different things. But for most entrepreneurs, that's not the case. And I think it's important that somebody, that somebody shared this message with everyone, right? Because I don't hear this being talked about, and not in the way that I've presented it to you guys. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. I meant well, but I'm just being blunt, right? Anyways, look forward to seeing you in my next video. Thank you, and don't forget, work smart and work hard. It's both, not one or the other. All right, see you.